Hey, welcome to your day off. My name is Corey, and this is my podcast right here. Listen, today, I'm really excited about the conversation today. But co-hosting with me today is Miss Gabby Bach, the managing editor at Beauty Launchpad. We gotta change your title, Gabby. Welcome
I
back.
know.
That's such
Hello,
a
thank
mouthful.
you. It is, yeah. I just like to call myself I guess I'm just a managing editor. I don't know, that's my general title. But yeah, with Beauty Launchpad magazine. Yeah.
Can I just call you editor? Is that
I
cool?
don't honestly like my title doesn't matter so much to me. I feel like what I do is just like connect people in the hair and well, not you connect people in the hair industry. I feel like I amplify what it is that they're doing. An amplifier.
Amplifies. So yeah. So the editor. So this weekend when in Chicago, we'll I'll be introducing you as the editor, the managing editor.
Yeah.
Why do they make titles so weird though? By the way.
It's all, yeah. I started out as assistant editor, then went to associate managing editor, and then managing editor. But when I was associate managing editor, I was basically doing the same thing as being a managing editor. It's a climbing the ladder type thing.
It's funny as with every promotion, your name gets shorter, right?
Yeah,
So with your next promotion, just be like, I don't know, president or something, president of
yeah,
BLP or something.
yeah. That'll be fun.
That'll be
We'll get there.
that'll be awesome. Hey man, how was your how was IBS? I saw that you just did a couple posts about it.
Yeah, it was fun. I love New York City. I'm from Chicago, but I still do love New York. I like New York pizza more than Chicago pizza. That's
Oh girl, you're
probably
gonna be
a
in so much trouble.
crazy thing to say, but I just like thin crust pizza. I like
Uh-huh.
toppings on top of the pizza, rather than inside, which is a weird thing that Chicago does. I don't know. But anyway, I'm always excited to be in New York. I love the Javits Center too. It's one of my favorite convention centers, which is weird. But you just when you do what we do, where you go to so many trade shows, you're just in convention centers
Mhm.
so frequently.
I gotta tell
Um,
you though, Gab, on that, I love Rosemont. And the reason
it
I
is a
love
nice convention
Rosemont,
center.
I love
Yeah.
Rosemont because of the lobby. Like the lobby is
Yeah.
like so much different than any other convention hall that I've been in. And I love that like it's kind of a welcoming before the boom, and it's also a place you can kind of chill and like, convention floors can be really loud. So it's a really nice place to kind of even just have conversations with people. And there may or may not be a Starbucks in the lobby as well.
That is true. Yeah. I mean, that's the same thing. I like the Javits Center lobby because it's like all glass. So, especially on days where it's sunny, like you feel like you're outside a little bit
That's
without having
fair.
to be outside. And I just remember like the first time I walked into that convention center in 2017, I was like, this is just gorgeous. Like looking at the like the glass
Architecturally,
little.
it's beautiful, right?
Yeah. Like
It's
that's what
so
the,
great.
yeah. But I do love the Donald D. Stevens Convention Center, which is the one in Rosemont. I like it more than our other convention center that's in Chicago, the McCormick Place Convention
Oh my
Center.
God.
It's also more accessible. That's a big reason why. But I also find it less overwhelming. So I'm
That's fair.
always thrilled when I get to go to events there because it's easier to park and like access and everything. Whereas like McCormick Place is kind of like
It's
just in its
downtown.
own
It's
little.
downtown.
Yeah, but it's also
That's
just in its
fun.
own little corner too. It's not like it's like I feel like in general. I mean, you could walk if you're at a hotel close by, but it is kind of just in its own little bubble.
Yeah, I remember when
Which is
I
good.
remember when ABS was down there, and
Yeah,
it was kind of like, again, if you parked in the neighborhood, it was awesome, but certainly navigating around was a little tougher. And like whenever you're at a downtown convention center, like at the end of the day, everyone seems to disperse.
yeah,
The really cool thing about Rosemont is that is that it feels more community. Like everybody, like they kind of go out together, and ABS does such a great job of doing after hours stuff that it's just kind of fun to hang out in.
yeah. I'm excited for the Global Image Awards, and
Yeah.
then Sunday is Christopher Benison is doing an after party. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
that, yeah,
Instead of
if it's the same place that it was last year, it's like a nightclub.
Joe's.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's Joe's. It's like a list, but that area is just so cool because it almost feels like this planned community where it's everything is so accessible, and we literally walked, and even though it was a little cold because it was Chicago,
yeah.
it was still not it was still not bad. But
Because Beauty Changes Lives had their gala on Sunday
last
last
year,
year, but they've moved it to Premiere Orlando,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
which so now there's yeah,
Well, that's a whole nother. We'll have
a
that
lot
conversation
happening.
about 10 times, I'm sure, before.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get
So
there.
crazy. Well, dude, I'm gonna make fun of you a little bit or bust your balls a little bit here. We really
Please
at
do.
the hairbrained awards. Those were pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, I think there was something pretty crazy that happened. So, on my end, to defend myself, I have a friend who lives in Indiana, and she came in and surprised me. And she also did get us concert tickets for later that night. There was an artist that she liked that happened to be in New York who was at Irving Plaza. And so she got us tickets to see him. And so I felt like I was like, she flew all this way and everything. So that was, I missed out.
Whatever.
But I was bummed because I walked out of the concert and I looked at my phone and I was like, look who won best podcast of the year. It's Hairdustry. This podcast is podcast of the year, the Hairbrained Awards. Crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty it was pretty amazing. I was definitely like when they announced her name, I was a little shocked. You never know what to do with that energy, and it was just it's kind oh, well, I recommend anyone go to our Instagram and look at the video that we put up because literally as I'm walking on the stage, I tripped. You kind of
No.
see me go, oh, like that.
You had your Jennifer Lawrence
I
moment.
totally had my Jennifer Lawrence moment. And it was so cool because although I'm in oh God, although I see her a lot at events, the only thing that was in my brain is that Antoinette Beenders was like sitting next to the stage, and I thought like, how cool is it that Antoinette is like shaking my hand as I enter the stage, and then of course I forgot to pick up my feet when I was thinking that, and I went, oof, I kind of tripped up the steps there, but it's all good. It's weird. The energy is weird. Like the energy that you feel is weird because it's just like it's really. And actually, I was interviewed after by Ambrosia, and she just like, "How do you feel?" And it's weird because it's validating. We live in this world like everybody's putting stuff out, but you're not supposed to like the likes, and you're not supposed to like the attention, and you're not supposed to like that. And I don't. I believe that like the likes and all that, like that, it's all cool and it is all validating, but it's only validating to say that, hey, we're on the right path. It's not a validating, like it doesn't like, I don't, it doesn't make me feel like a better person or anything like that. I'm not wired that way, maybe. But it's really nice to just the validation of like, hey, what you're doing is worthy and whatever. And that's kind of how I felt about the award. I mean, it was just very cool to be acknowledged for something that we've worked so very hard at. And again, just that we're on the right path.
Yeah.
So
It's weird. I had this funny feeling where I was like, I feel like they're gonna like I had a feeling you were gonna win. I don't know why. I just kind of felt it
you're the only
in my
one.
gut. And I was like, I feel like, and so then when I did see that you won, I was like, yay, but also I was like, yeah, that's very deserved. And I kind of
Oh,
felt it in my
you're
gut.
very nice.
Because what you're doing is very, very special. The conversations you're having and the way you connect people. And it's cool to get to be like, thank you for letting me sort of be a part of this little thing that we're doing. It's fun to get to talk to people, like get to amplify stuff we're doing in the magazine, of course, but then also get to talk to completely new people in the industry who I've never chatted with before and learn about the things that they're doing. It's been really, really fun. And it's also fun because I just like have like, again, I have a broadcast journalism degree, so I've always wanted to do a podcast or something in some capacity, but just never had the bandwidth. Talking about how after New York I came home and just immediately crashed, came down with a cold, like
Mhm.
had the physical bandwidth like to be able to carry something like that on my own. So it's nice to have someone to do it with. So I
Well,
appreciate
I've
you
had I've
being.
had a blast with you, and thank you for your time as well. Well, I think you kind of like with your broadcast journalism did an awesome segue there. So why don't you go ahead and bring our guest in today because I am mega stoked to talk to him today.
Yes. I'm psyched too. This is gonna be a really, really fun conversation. So today we're chatting with Vernon Jackson. He's been featured on Good Morning America, The Today Show, CBS News, Fox News. He's a speaker and a barber from Cincinnati. And he's doing some really, really cool things with the Gifted Alliance, which he'll talk a little bit about. So please let's welcome in our guest, Vernon Jackson. Yay.
Vernon, man, what's up, buddy? How you doing,
Hey man, what's going on? I'm clap for myself. I gotta do it and make sure I do that stuff. You know what I mean?
dude? We got.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah,
Gab, give me
I'll
some.
give ourselves a round of applause. We're doing the
That's
thing.
awesome, Vernon, man. Like, well, let's get in. Vernon, Gabby kind of cheated there a little bit, but where are you from?
Born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio.
That's all
Love
right,
that.
man.
Yeah, man. Born and raised. I tried to leave a few times, but it just kept on calling me. It's like it ain't your time.
I get that. Where were you outside of Cincinnati? Where were you? Where'd your travels take you?
Travel like I love DC. I love DC. I love uh, Clearwater.
Oh,
I,
Clearwater's
I,
my jam.
yo, listen, DC and Clearwater are my top two. Um, Dallas is an alternate. Um, but DC is just when it comes to just having a vibe and having lounges and people and how I love how every neighborhood in DC and in the metropolitan area is has its own pocket of energy. Like you can go there and find something, and find a bar, find a spot to kind of go into, and great food as well. And then but with Clearwater, I love the big little aspect of it, right? You know what I'm saying? Big energy, beautiful scenery, but still a small town kind of vibe as well, with beautiful beaches.
That's it. I mean, I don't leave more than 50 feet from the beach when I go to Clearwater. My wife is from Tampa, so we do
Okay.
summers there. So every that's our summer beach kind of town. Somewhere between Clearwater and St. Pete, there's all those little beaches there. So we're always on one of those beaches there. Have you lived anyplace else or only lived in Cincinnati?
Never, no, no, only live in Cincinnati.
That's all right, man.
Yeah, I was gonna go to when I was like in my 20s. I was considering to move to California because in my early 20s I was really into acting and modeling, and I did commercial, did some stage plays, and so I would have like went out there, but I'm like I don't have the dexterity to just be a starving artist trying to fight my way into Hollywood and that type of thing. I don't. It's not my. It wasn't my thing. And the energy of California just wasn't my vibe either. So I just stayed. So I had a out to not move. I took it.
I get that, man. You know,
Yeah.
For real.
some of the best decisions are the ones you don't make.
Yo, no, seriously, 'cause I dead ass. I was literally on the way to like to make it happen, and then um a email from Public Allies, and they said that they had, because I was trying to apply for Public Allies out there, but a position open here. I'm like, okay, I'm staying home.
What's
This is
Public Allies?
okay. Public Allies is like a non-profit or is a agency or whatever you want to call it, that's attached to the government, where they train people to be public allies. We're like learning how to work well with each other, diversity, and each person that was a part of a particular class worked hand in hand with the nonprofit. So it's one part, like it's almost like a trade school. Like one part of your time in trade school is your schoolwork. With Public Allies, one part was like diversity learning, team building, X, Y, and Z. Then the other part of your time was working with the nonprofit that you were partnered with. Which for me, I was doing like setting up homework clubs and challenging areas and neighborhoods and running those. And then so yeah, that was my thing.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
all right,
man.
man.
The service hard. So I always been about diversity, always diversity and always been about just, being tapped in with humanity at some form of fashion for sure.
Is this how'd you find that? I mean, has it always been a thing? I mean, was it?
Yeah, it has, but I don't know if it still is now. But for a while, it was. Public Allies had a very strong name. Yeah, yep,
And what and
yep.
for you though, like you've always had a heart of service, or I mean, was this something that you were raised with? Is this something that you were born with?
I guess I would say born with. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but um, it wasn't raised. It wasn't in my household or something I do. That's what we do. My mom was a single parent. She had me when she was 17, and she was just trying to do the best thing she could. And so I just, was just gravitated to. Sometimes, a lot of times in my life, I found myself following the path that other people had for me that was better than what I had of my own. You know what I'm saying? And so where I don't know who exactly told me about public allies, but whatever it was, I applied for it, and it was what it was. Yeah, for sure. But I always been about just working with kids or working with people, doing spoken word poetry. Even in high school, I was voted the class president at my vocational school. They had a club there called VICA, Vocational Industrial Clubs of America. And in my class, I voted class president and voted school president of the club, which is the biggest one in the school. And I got involved into it, and just really just how I spent my time. And it got like really, I learned a lot about people and really hone in on speaking and being and connecting with people on a more professional and intentional level.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that intentional
wow, that's
level.
crazy.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that intentional level, Gab.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like love that, but I think because I mean, I'm trying to figure out best way to ask this, but the hair industry, like it is very like people focused, right? Because you're serving other people. But I'm sort of curious because I mean there are a lot of like service based jobs out there, sort of how you specifically then found the hair industry.
Yeah, so so it's crazy, right? So, again, it's one of the things where I say I put it with my speeches that my life is a sum of moments that and opportunities that I never would have saw happening. That I never could have been. Oh, I'm gonna do this. Like I was at my home school. Scarlet Oaks cosmetology instructors came there to do a presentation. To create the opportunity for kids from the home school to go to the vocational school. And afterwards, I talked to her. She's like, I was like, well, if I did anything, I probably would be a barber. Because I don't know if I want to go to college or not. I don't really care, but I don't like school like that anyway. And I don't want to go. I've heard too many stories. People wasting their time and money going to school anyway. So I don't know. So if I did anything, it'd be a barber. She said, well, you'll be doing a lot of the same things. Some things give and take, but it'd probably be better for you because you get it out the way in high school. And I said, all right, I'll tour the campus. And I've toured the campus, and the campus remind me of the schools, because uh, the public schools I came from, because my home school was so bright, had reds and yellows and whites and stuff, and it was too bright for me. And I wasn't used to that. You know what I'm saying? But the vocational school it was like an office park type of environment, and I'm like, okay, these are more my colors. Okay, so I did that and I went through the program and I toured the program. I'm like, no, I'll do it. I went home that day to my mom. Hey, mom, I want to go to school next year for cosmetology. I could only imagine she thought. You know what I'm saying? When I told her. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, but that's what I did. But you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I'm doing. And I did it and I excelled in it. And, I didn't know nothing about hair. Um, I've just always been a creative. 'Cause before that, I was writing and I was, a visual artist. I used to draw a lot, like in draw and paint. So yeah, that was that. And then next thing you know, I'm in school and I did really good, and I'm glad I did it because my kit was only like $300 and something, and they paid for our first test. They took us up for our first test, and I came out of high school with my license.
That's
Yeah.
amazing, man. So you're an actual you have a cause license, not just a
Yeah.
barber. I don't want to say just. I'm not. I don't mean
Yeah,
just.
yeah, no. So I'm a cosmetologist. I just, what I'm saying, I just focus on hair cutting and barbers and in the haircut industry when you're doing a lot of haircuts and people just refer to you as a barber because you don't see me do hair anymore. The first 4 years out of school, I was doing hair and cutting hair. Now but ever since then, I just focus on clippers. I do some scissor work, but just that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, for sure.
Mm, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, man. So it's one thing that the people just like, but when it comes to like podcasts and 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 more interpersonal environments, I make sure I make it clear that I'm a cosmetologist because if the field itself is so diverse. You know what I'm saying? Versus I could I've practiced doing facial and everything, but I was able to have the bandwidth to be able to experience and to create, and to see what it was I actually wanted to do versus then, you know what I'm saying, being pigeonholed in one thing and then trying to figure it out from there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. So, if you're listening in, I highly recommend. Actually, you can just kind of pause this podcast right now. I highly recommend that you follow Vernon's page. Vernon, what is it? Just Vernon Jackson? What's your Instagram page?
On Instagram, it's the best, the number one in the word period.
That's it.
Yeah.
I highly recommend you following his page. I've definitely dropped a couple tears watching his page. He just did a post last week where he talked about. So, why is Vernon on the podcast today? Well, aside that he's just a cool dude. But why he's on the podcast is that he's gotten a little bit of attention, and Gabby mentioned that at the top about all the different media
News outlets.
yeah, news outlets that have covered his story. And he really has a special way of connecting with kids on the spectrum, as far as like haircutting and stuff. And like, it's really interesting, Vernon, because when I was watching your post early on, it looked like, and we're all guilty of this, but you're doing these haircuts and these kids just seem to be quote unquote compliant. And I'm like, what does Vernon have where he's like, he breaks through to these kids? And then you did the post last week and you showed or a couple weeks ago where it took 3 appointments for one of your clients to one of the kids that's on the spectrum to trust you. And that was like such an eye-opening thing. Like, oh, okay. So Vernon is very special and he's got a special way, but it doesn't just happen overnight. Can you kind of like go into like kind of the whole story of how like you started working with kids on the spectrum and I'm really interested in how you connect with them as well.
Yeah. So how I'm gonna try to set up the answer in response is to give you a synopsis of how we got me into it, and but really focus on the amount of or the uniqueness of each client and time it takes for familiarity with a lot of them. So what got me into it was in our industry, time is our money, and so getting more efficient with a service to be able to do more services in a certain amount of time to get more money was the thing, right? And so when I came into the game, cutting hair, haircuts was $25, and kids' haircuts were $15, and kids' haircuts were, I mean, we're just paying the ass. I like to tell people and make it clear when I'm telling my story, like I don't care what people feel like what you should say about kids and all that stuff. Like, no, this is the reality of my life and of my experience. That if you don't understand that, you really won't appreciate the gravity of the work that I do, right? And so where as I volunteered with kids a lot, and they love me, but volunteering, it was more about patience and grace. You know what I'm saying? But at work, I didn't have the luxury for having patience because where I have a 15-minute window I'm trying to cut in, right? Have to match that up with the parents' expectations that were too high, what kind of haircut they wanted their kid to have, right? And then the price point that I was charging for the amount of stress I was enduring for some of these kids, like it was a lot. And so tack on whenever the wild card of a child with that was differently able would come in, the parents never called and gave a heads up. The parents never pulled up and said, "Hey, listen, my son, here's the challenges. You have the capacity to work with, that type of thing." So here it is. They pop up. "Hey, here's my kid." All I know is a child sprinting across the barbershop back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And or just having a huge meltdown. And at this point, I didn't understand what was going on. So, and they were always booked their haircuts after school, which was in the last 3 hour slots of my schedule. So it may take me like 15 to 20 minutes to get the kid into the chair. Then if I could get the haircut done, it was if I get the haircut done and then get a good haircut or the haircut I could give, it was just too stressful for me. So, but a lot of times the parents that would come, they were all like, I can't take him anywhere. There's this, it's just, everybody, and I didn't, want to be essentially I didn't want to be another service provider that was a no to them. So in my heart, I said, listen, you know, I know I would rather figure it out because I know that at least I would be able to do it from a place of love. You know, that was the earliest thoughts that I had. And it took me still probably about 2 or 3 years to really figure out the the right way to actually know what would be the proper timing to do it. And so a friend of mine, a young lady I was seeing at the time, I visited her, and a young man walked up to her who was like 18, who was on the spectrum, and she was like a speech, she was an SLP, a speech language pathologist, and I was like, no, what I have it on my heart to do like kids with special needs and whatnot, and she's like, Brian, you should do it. Like you should really do it. And just her energy, that comment, that's that moment. I said, you know what? All right. So I went home, I brainstormed, came up with the name to get to the event and everything, and then what day and when I could actually do it and how much time I think I would need. And so I decided to do it every third Monday. Every third Monday on my day off, give everything, do about 8 kids, have an 8 kid schedule, appointment spot, and each child got 30 minutes. So that way I'm no longer rushing. They can take as much time they want to acclimate. It's quiet, no one's in the shop, and then just went from there. And then next thing you know, the rest is history.
Go ahead, Gab.
Wow. I like think it's just so powerful because I grew up with sensory issues as a kid. Like still to this day, I refuse to wear socks that have a liner in them. All of my socks are linerless just because of like the sensory issues that I have.
Yeah.
So what and I think even just remembering back, like haircuts used to be traumatizing for me as a kid, and I can't even really like I just knew it was traumatizing experience for me, but I can't recall why I felt that way or what it was, but I know it was like a really traumatic experience, and obviously it's something I've grown out of now, but I feel like it's something that, gosh, you it takes, like you said, Corey, I think before, it takes a special person to be able to do that sort of thing, to be able to create a space for it, to understand that need there, and then know how to best engage that person and the strategies and sort of ways to go about handling that to make someone feel comfortable, to make them feel safe in that space. So what you're doing is really, really powerful and really important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's
Do you
not.
want?
It's not. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Not so. It's it's one of the things where like I said, like I didn't really come into it. I didn't know what to do. I just know I was able to create the space for it. I remember when I was a kid, I hated to get my hair cut. I'll get into the barbershop, and when it was my turn, I just bust out crying. I mean, at the top of my lungs, and I don't know why. I don't know why I did it, right? And so, where, as I was saying, like with, earlier, the other part to his question that I, I just put a video up before I joined, you know, uh, the podcast, and there's a child because the mom came to me and said he's always crying, he's always having a hard time, and getting a haircut, and we just couldn't get it done, and so we want to try you out. I said I don't want to hold him down anymore. I don't want to hold him down anymore, and that type of thing. And I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. We try it out for 5 visits. For 5 visits, first two was 30 minutes, second was like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and then that 15-minute one, I'm like, yo, like, what I'm saying? Because he was just walking around. He would get comfortable. I got to a point he would at least touch the clipper. And he come up, then he started coming up on his own. Just can put his hand out so I can touch his arm, his hand with the. Okay, great. But he still run around and act goofy and be awkward about it and whatnot. And then on one visit, not this past, the one before, I said, "Hey, listen." And lucky his father came. I said, "We gonna hold him down today. He's had more than enough time to try to figure this thing out. We're just gonna hold him down and get through it. And now after that, what we do is I'll just work on his sensory and his comfortability with the clipper because now his hair is short. I'm gonna buzz it off, so we gotta worry about it. I'm gonna buzz it off. I'm just gonna massage his head with the trimmer with the clippers so you can kind of experience it. And so, you know, so that one haircut that we had to hold him down. It was a fight. It was a fight. But after that, I still got my high five. I still got a hug, and he was still fine. He was cracking jokes as he was before. So fast forward to last week, he came through. Father came in, got him on every week to 2 week cycle, and he was hesitant. I tried to cut his hair in the front part of my shop. He put it to the back. He wanted to go back to my gifted area. I said, all right, cool, let's go.
Mhm.
Okay. He wouldn't get to the chair on his own. We tried to give him a chance to do it on his own. After like 2 minutes, I'm like, no, you don't get no more time to waste. If you don't do it, we pick you up, we hold you down. Right? So that's what we did. But don't you know? I put the clippers to him, and he didn't say nothing at all. He just rested his head in his father's chest, and he let me cut. And I took my time. And they're like, I'm like, yeah. But I will tell you, I have this like, I get this feeling whenever it's a child's time to be independent, it's like a hit to the heart. I mean, I'm like, nah, they'll sit in the chair by themselves today. Put them down and walk away, and they do it. Like, or in that moment we had to hold them down. I felt like this is it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just get it. I just get it, and it's so cool. It's so cool to have those kind of experiences. And so yeah, man, I can't even put a word on it. I tell people like, listen, like it's all God. I'm not really like, what I'm saying, like the humility part that you speak about earlier and whatnot. That's all like it's there's a projected humility that the world wants you to have when you good at something. It's just they want you to play yourself small and play your skills down small for whoever they think is gonna feel comfortable by or whatever the hell it is, right? They still want you to be too happy and confident in yourself. You know what I'm saying? And so where um so first I had to own that part for myself to say, nah, like whatever I'm good at it, and I don't care about how you think about it or how you view me,
Right.
right? And so, but then doing this, where like it was like God put me I was like Daniel son, a Karate Kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, here I'm doing poetry. I'm doing all the things that I'm doing poetry. I'm a two-time author. First book sold over 6,000 copies. Word of mouth is the number one news seller on Amazon. About dating and relationships. Like my books have changed a lot of people's hearts and perspective about dating. And I was doing that on my own. And I did my poetry thing. That got really big as well, where I had national respected, and globally recognized artists performing at my shows. And it was huge. You hear me? Like, and like, but it didn't go anywhere. It's like, man, I'm like, Dad, like, what you want me to do? Like, I'm doing everything. Like, I'm trying to make something out of myself. What's up? And I felt it was like that Daniel Son moment. He said, "What do you want me to do? How you be picking fixes and washing cars? What's going on?" He said, "Do wax on, wax off." You know, you know what I'm saying? The next thing you know, like, and that's what Gifted Event right now is that all the things that I was doing before was grooming me to be present for the work that I'm doing right now with the kids. You know what I'm saying? That to have the level of when it comes to acting and being on stage and whatnot and commercials, knowing angles and that type of thing, and then editing and know how to like, okay, great. So I'm editing when I was editing the videos. Now I know what part to kind of make sure that that translates the experience what's happening, right?
Right.
Then when it comes to, being goofy, when I was younger, I was silly with my family to diffuse awkward moments. You know what I'm saying? So now being silly and goofy, having a pivot of personality allows me to really be present with the kids with their attention spans. So now that's a weakness that was a strength that was just in the wrong environment. You know what I'm saying? Like, so,
Mm.
and then being able to be on camera, to be consistent and talk to people and translate thought and convey a story. That's what spoken word poetry taught me. You know what I'm saying? Being on stage and being a host of open mics for so long. So all these things add up to this moment, right? That only God could have packaged up in a way that touches people's hearts. Millions of people, millions of times over. I couldn't have done that. So in closing, and to land that plane, being humble looks like I know it's not me. I can't, there's no part of this I can take credit for it. So it's easy to be humble when you recognize who gets the attention, who's deserving and worthy of the praise. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I'm just a part of the process.
That's amazing. Is there anything, or share with any of the listeners, like if you're approaching like a kid on the spectrum, like is there like, and I know that everybody's different, every experience is a little bit different, but are there stuff to help identify or help to, whether I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth necessarily,
Yeah.
but if you're a barber and you have, like, I have a client that has a kid on the spectrum, and like just like what that relationship should be or could be, or well, here's my first question, and maybe you can wrap this into it. But like, is it easier to service some of the kids without their parents present?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Or I have to separate because my job and my focus personally is to start creating independence, to create independence
The
from
kid, right?
huh?
For the kid, independence for the obvious.
Yeah, exactly, and for the parent too, because a lot of times the parents they're so used to having to be so hands on and make sure nothing goes wrong. Like I have to be that way for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, no, over here. And kid, no matter how much you cry, they're not gonna save you. It's me and you. You know what I'm saying? Something try to establish that, right? And let them know, like parents, like, listen, you may not like it, but you're here because you see me, you heard about me. It's a safe space. You know what I'm saying? So let's get to work.
Let me do my thing.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like I know where you at. If I need you, if things going left, I'll reach out to you. Trust me. But for now, just relax. I want them because for the parents, because the haircuts is just more it's important for the parents as it's for the kids. Because I want the parents like the kids getting haircuts is beautiful, but for to look over and see a parent for the first time being on the phone like this, and they realize like
Yeah,
they haven't had to say shit,
yeah.
they haven't had to jump up and try to like fix nothing. You know what I'm saying?
I want to save them.
That is like you know that's a magical experience for me. You know what I'm saying? And so then for the show where in terms of how the first part is when it comes to the children on the spectrum, like when they walk into some places, you can have your boundaries, but it's new for them. So they want to touch stuff. They want to see what's going on. And so when they walk to the shop, I'm like, go ahead. As long as they ain't trying to do too much touching my plants or, or breaking something, we're fine. You know what I'm saying? Like I got my boundaries. I'm not a pushover. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it's definitely that piece of allowing them to explore it and kind of get a feel for things, and then establish the boundaries from there. When it's in public, if they have, kids have meltdowns whether they're on the spectrum or not. You know what I'm saying? But allow them to, but then sometimes you got to mind your business. You know what I'm saying? That's a huge part. You got to, like, in public for real. The parents do the best they can. You know what I'm saying? And when you're looking at a parent or staring at a parent or what's going on, and you don't know what's going on, that's awkward as hell. You know what I'm saying? So the best thing to do a lot of times is to mind your business. If it's in the shop, just allow them to, if they're moving around a little bit, touching stuff, let them feel it. But if they can't touch it, no, not that. Not that. And some kids don't like the word no. And so if they respond to a no, start crying, then you got to speak in affirmative. You can touch this over here. hey, come and touch this. Do X, Y, Z. You know what I'm saying? Give them direction. You know? So, those are my top 2 or 3 kind of things to pay attention to.
And you said you introduced the clippers to him, so you kind of like.
Yeah, so when it comes to clipper introduction, I have a toy clipper that I'll use that kind of like has a vibration aspect of it. I pull the string and it vibrates.
Mhm.
I sit there and touch that, or the ones that I use that are quiet. I just, I sit there, let's touch it. And then if they touch it, like, cool. Now I see kind of touch it right here, right here. And then depending upon how their comfort is, it's all right, great. But a lot of time when parents come to me, I'm the last I'm giving them a chance to choose to be a part of the process. But unless the parent specifies, nah, we go get a haircut today. And I'm willing to fight through it. I'm willing to fight with you through it. But no, at the end of it, we high five and fist bumps and hugs. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you feel comfortable with doing. And you make it, and you get a sucker, you get a toy, and you get a t-shirt, because a lot of times they don't want to wear a cape. So I give them a t-shirt to go out with. Yeah.
Gab,
Mhm. So
Gabby.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, patience, I think, is a big thing that you need to, and like that perseverance, which is just not everybody has that, which I think is so powerful. Do you want to talk about just a little bit more about the Gifted Alliance and sort of some of the things you're doing to let people know more about it? Because it is a nonprofit. So do you want to talk about sort of like that side of things?
yeah. So the nonprofit aspect of Gifted Alliance was established out of to be a foundation for what the Gifted event is, right? And so I wanted to have a nonprofit that focused a lot on um, people bringing their gifts together to align together for a bigger purpose, right? And right now, where how it's working with what I'm doing with the gifted event. So I'm bringing my gifts in. The public bring their gifts of the donations of toys or finances and whatnot, and make the space to align together to take care of the haircut experience for the kids in and of itself. But the Gifted Alliance is still in a growing phase of discovering what else we want to align together to make happen. But it was definitely birthed out of desire for having another structure to support the Gifted event in and of itself.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And it's a process. And I didn't, listen, this has all been reactionary. I didn't want to, I'm like, yo, I just want to do what I'm doing and move forward. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to certain gifts and what people are doing and what people want to do, having a nonprofit is a part of the process, especially with the kind of funny that I get from people. Like I don't really like, I, I'll get a grant, I'll apply for a grant here and there, but I really prefer crowdfunding. Um, um, I root for the people, the viewers who watch, the everyday people who are watching what happens, whose heart being touched, to go the extra clicks and donate. That's the magic. That's like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? Like, my video has garnered millions of views, hundreds of thousands of views, all that stuff, for real. But it's the fraction of people who actually donate.
And compelled to do so.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's cool to be able to tell a parent, parent like, okay, I can pay for something, kind of like, nah, just receive.
Yeah.
You give a lot. You give a lot. You give a lot. This is our way of letting you know that you see and that you matter. Like, just receive. You know what I'm saying? Because the part of the transaction and being a creation is learning how to receive as much as we know how to give. Because if you don't, you'll always feel empty.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And most people don't practice receiving, and it takes practice.
Yeah. That part takes
Mhm.
practice. Yeah. There's truth in that. Did you when was the first time that you posted like one of your videos of working with kids on the spectrum?
It was like probably like 2020. Probably 2020 when I was doing the work. Who what?
Did it just kind of like live on its own at that point? I mean, was it just like,
Nah. The first video, I just started recording the videos because I'm like, man, 'cause I had so many parents that would come in and they're like, yo, like I don't know what it is about you, but my son ain't never sat this still.
right?
He ain't never got a haircut. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he cried, he still sat still for. He never did that. And I'm like, and it kept happening so much. I'm like, yo, this is happening a lot. I gotta document this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's how I started recording. And that's why I started recording. So everything I've been doing has been out of response for people. Even fundraising, I didn't have a desire. That was my desire. I was just gonna do like a discount haircut my day off. What I could do, you know, I was gonna grunge to it. Even though I want to get paid a lot for it, I was gonna do it, and just because it needed to be done for them. My friend hit me up and said, "Hey man, so when you guys go home with the kids, can I sponsor the haircut?" I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And then somebody else did it. Then another person did. Then I made a post like, "Yo, it's so cool to see how the community are rallying behind the families, you know, to sponsor haircuts." Next thing you know, I can no longer do a pay have them pay for a haircut if they're coming through my designated times. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it was. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, and so yeah, and there was times where the funding slowed down because of course the heightened part of awareness, all this cool initiative is popping up. I want to give to it too. That's starting to die down. And I was like, I made up my mind, saying, okay, how much money I got going on? I'm not charging a family for a haircut that's coming through my designated time. Just not doing it. And every time I start running low, money come in. Boom, it starts hits. So I've never been without.
Wow.
Never been like so when I say God is on it, like listen, I'm very well taken care of. God is good. Like I'm like let's be very clear. If what matter what anybody takes from any of my interviews, X, Y, and Z, your heart is being moved because one, you're only seeing the work you're only seeing what I'm doing for the kids, that which I've received from God Himself.
Mm.
It's like it's just that's it. I'm only giving what I've been able to receive. You know what I'm saying? And so in that, it moves, you know what I'm saying? It's a heart thing because that's what's being introduced. That's what's being shared. To complete it's humans. What I'm doing is showing what it look like when humans allow themselves to be humans and they connect with each other at the most realistic way.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? That's it, bro. That's
That's it.
that's it. You know what I'm saying? And but I also have their work to make sure that I had the right soil that seed can grow in. You know what I'm saying? I did my work. I did my shadow work. I asked myself those hard questions and I got out the way.
Get out of the
You
we could learn more from that, getting out of the way. So if somebody wanted to sponsor a haircut, or how do they go about doing that?
So the best way people wanted to support the gifted event, you know, would be to directly go to thegiftedevent.com. And if you're on my social media already, always click the link in my bio, the link tree, will always take you to the media features, donation links, you know, everything you need.
That's incredible. Um,
It's
so do you? Take us back a little bit. So are you still doing this only on the third Monday, or has demand?
no. So right now I do it, you know, I do it every Wednesday now. Do every Wednesday from 11:30 to 5:30. Um, I've done that, so I removed the third Mondays. You there?
Yep.
All right. So I removed the third Mondays because I wanted to. Cause I may travel sometimes, and when I have to move a third Monday, it's too much work. It's too much work to have to contact all the parents and find them another day. So I focus on doing it every Wednesday now. That way, I have my Mondays and Tuesdays freed up, and I can get more. I can get more kids for free on a Wednesday. and I won't, and it won't be a Wednesday that I would not be able to work.
How many like are kids coming in from like how far are they traveling to Cincinnati?
I mean, the farthest I've had a family driving from Toronto, um, and I have families that drive in like uh up to 3 hours sometimes to get their kids haircut. Yeah.
I mean, that shows what a need is, you know. Have you wanted to do any like classes or anything as far as like training people on how to have the same impact in their own communities?
Yeah, so I've definitely thought about that. I do have an online course right now that I have, but I definitely thought about doing like more in person, but haven't quite done it yet. Haven't been intentional about how I would structure it and who will be the who I would want to do it in schools. I'd rather be contracted out to do it in hair schools and barber schools, for sure. And really, I want it to be something that there's a gifted event time slot that businesses take on. You know what I'm saying, and create space for, you know what I'm saying, for the demographic. You know what I'm saying, at large. Um, but yeah,
Mm. Gab,
yeah.
Gabby, you're muted.
There we go. There we go.
Welcome back.
Hi. Sorry, there's some noise that was going on and I didn't want to make sure my
Okay.
mic didn't pick it up, so I muted myself. Anyway. I think there's definitely a need for that for sure to be able to reach, more amount of people because you're only one person, right?
Yeah.
And I think if there's something like this, like it is something I think the industry is becoming more aware of too, of like how do we
Yeah.
make our salons, our barbershops like inclusive to everyone who walks in that door. But I think I like the idea too of having it just be like a specific time and space, like creating that window so you're not just walking into like a normal salon day where it can be very overwhelming. There's lots of other people happening, creating that like little independent window. I think that's something that a lot of people may not think of, right? Like to have
Yeah.
that sort of space.
Yeah. Now, one thing, and also to piggyback off of that, is that, the other part about it is that, man, like really, like I didn't take any training for this. I didn't take any training for this. I don't, I didn't really start learning about it until as I started doing it. And I have techniques that I do, but it's not always the techniques that get anything going. It's the heart behind it. You know what I'm saying? You can't teach that. And I know for sure that whenever it's time, when God sees fit for me to start teaching and doing other stuff, you know what I'm saying, around it, it'll present itself. I don't have to. I'm not chasing nothing here. I'm in a place in my life. I'm not. There's nothing I'm chasing. I'm not. I'm barely pursuing anything. I'm really just like, all right, this is that. This is the move. This is where I'm going. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause otherwise, that's when you start getting stressed out. You start trying to impose your own will, your own things, or something that's not yours in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Like, what I look like trying to say, okay, God, thank you. Now let's do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. Like, you know what I'm saying? When it's time, here we build it, you know what I'm saying? And I'll move from there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it'll always be there, like, it takes work, but it ain't no job. You know what I mean? It takes work. I'm working, but it's not like I'm not feel like I'm a slave. I don't feel like I'm like, whenever I get to a point where if I feel like I'm doing too much posting or I'm watching too much analytics with the content, I'm out of here. I'm not posting shit. I do
Yeah.
that. I'm relaxed. You know
That
what I'm saying? Like, I don't like, this isn't designed for me to be stressed out.
there seems like there's a certain amount of freedom in that, my friend.
Yo, why would we be put on this earth to, you know what I'm saying, to have to feel like we have to be stressed out? You know what I'm saying? Like, no, like, that's a part of receiving within and of itself.
Mm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, I don't, I work part time. I've been working part time for 5 years.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I was very successful as someone focused on hair cutting before the gift event ever took off. You know what I'm saying? I was over 6 figures. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, you know, all right, I worked. I don't haven't worked this Saturday in 4 years.
Wow.
Amazing.
That's amazing. Vernon, how can people find you? How can they I mean you mentioned how they can donate, but let's go over that again. How can they find you? How can they donate to donate a haircut?
Man, so you can find me if you're on my major platforms are TikTok and YouTube. You can find me at the Gifted Event Official. Search that out. You'll find me there. And then if you and for more personal, the kind of like, I keep my Instagram page, both my gifted event content and personal posts or whatnot. Like whatever I want to post, I'm gonna do it there. You know what I'm saying? Like that way, if you want to get in contact with me, that's the best way to kind of reach out to me as well. Because the messaging aspect of Instagram is way more user friendly than TikTok is messy. It's just a lot of happening, and with over 900,000 followers and all the comments that's coming through it, that's a lot. And then YouTube is just all comment. It's just all comment based,
Yeah.
and so it's just a lot there. So Instagram is the best way to kind of like define me that way, which is at the best, the number one in the word period.
Amazing.
And to donate, you can always find information inside any of those bios or thegiftedevent.com.
Thegiftedevent.com. We got that. Vernon, thank you for your time, man. Thanks for making it happen. But you know what? Even, forget your time as much as like just thank you for what you're doing for these families and for these kids. I mean, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, it's just it really touches me, the work that you're doing. I know that if you've been in a salon environment, we've all had the opportunity to work on kids that are on the spectrum, and we know how stressful it is, not only as an operator, but how it is for the family, because you can kind of see like the families when they walk in, how tense they are because they know that the next, 30 minutes, hour is going to be a high stress situation. And just to have the grace and the awareness to make it a special place for them and to not judge them for where they're at, but to help them or to meet them where they're at. To not judge them where they're at, but to meet them where they're at. It's just it's a true gift. And thank you from the industry, thank you from me, thank you from Gabby, and all the good stuff. I really impressed by you, Mr. Vernon.
I receive that, man. Thank you for the time.
Absolutely. Gab, yeah, anything in wrap?
Yeah. I mean, I ditto everything that Corey said. Thank you so much for chatting with us, and thank you for what you're doing for the industry. I think it's very powerful, and I hope that it creates, that what you're doing creates a ripple effect, and that there's more people that feel compelled in their heart to be that person for families, and that this starts to become more of a widespread thing of like, how can we create a space for people in need, and that what you're doing, especially like as you continue to grow and what you're doing and educate, like hopefully eventually educate, reach other people, that it creates a movement, creates momentum. Because I think, again, what you're doing is super powerful. And I'm where I know everyone, I speak on behalf of, Corey, like dittoing everything, he said that it's a very needed what you're doing and very appreciated. So thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you.
Mr. Vernon Jackson, Miss Gabby Bach, thank you very, very much for joining us on your day off.